You're watching 5-Star Takes with Tony Deppen. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, like it, and also watch my fucking podcast with these guys because it was great.
What's up, everybody? DDJ's here. I'm here along with my boy Shane. But we're missing somebody. What happened to Isaac? Wasn't it your turn to watch him?
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, he is ungovernable, and he was supposed to set an alarm. We're recording late tonight. As of right now, it's roughly 12 a.m. my time, and around 11 p.m. Your time. But Senior Isaac is asleep. Alarms do not work. He hit the snooze, and the old man's gone for the night.
He thinks he's old now. Wait till he gets. I'm going to tell you this right now. And this is anybody listening, any of you youngins out there. It don't get any better as you get older.
Yeah, no. And Isaac is really, really, really old.
Now, I guess that makes me dusty and ancient. So.
No, you have the youthful energy in you, DDJ. He simply does not.
God, if you only knew how badly I was dragging at the Wisconsin State Fair with my wife and my nephew and his wife on Thursday, you'd probably reconsider that last statement.
Yeah, no. I'm sure we'll have to get into that. We haven't talked about it too much. I definitely interested, buddy. But yeah, no, I mean, he hasn't been to a state fair in years, probably. I mean, he barely lives in a state. I mean, Dennis, do you understand that Vermont has like 700,000 total people living in it?
Man, that's less than I think that's less than the population of Chicago.
Oh yeah, no. I mean the greater Columbus area, which is the suburbs around Columbus and Columbus itself, literally has like 3 times the amount of people that live in the entirety of Vermont. It is crazy. The state fairs do not exist. They probably go to the local middle school and have a little potluck out back. I don't know.
You know what? Hey, food's food.
Yeah, listen. In Potlucks, Summerslam happening tonight, really.
Well, we got a lot of stuff that we want to talk about when it comes to SummerSlam. We're going to preview matches. We're going to give our takes on some of our favorite matches, moments in SummerSlam events. So, what do you say? Let's go.
Absolutely.
Hello again, everybody. We are here. It's SummerSlam weekend. When this episode drops, SummerSlam will be later this evening, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about SummerSlam. You know, we're going to preview the card. We're going to give our predictions on the matches. We're also going to talk about, favorite SummerSlam moments, matches, and overall events and stuff. But before we do that, there is one thing that I wanted to get into, and there's this picture that's been going around social media that's been causing quite a stir. Imagine that, a picture circulating on social media causing a stir.
Yeah, no. The social media whips things up and sends them wacky directions.
Right. But I mean, this one here is definitely something that, is going to create, some chatter and, create more, I guess you could say, questions and answers, cause some controversy, stir things up a little bit. And that's the picture that's been, I want to say, I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was like Wednesday or like sometime between Tuesday
Yeah,
and
it was.
Thursday. I think I
It
don't
was
remember the exact day.
definitely after the Tony Deppen interview.
Okay. But yeah, it was sometime earlier this week that there's a picture circulating that apparently Tony Khan had a meeting with a certain someone whose last name is McMahon, and that being Shane McMahon. And speculation's running rampant, about Shane possibly joining or doing some kind of work with AEW. And one thing I was thinking about, and I kind of want to get your opinion on this, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about this and stuff and what it could mean not only for AEW, but what it could, possibly mean for the WWE. If this were to come to fruition and Shane McMahon were to to show up on AEW TV, do you think he could be even bigger needle mover for AEW than CM Punk was?
No, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really understand what this does for AEW other than create a big, huge initial splash. And then, I think he just ends up being Shane McMahon. You know what I mean? Like, what at this point in Shane McMahon's life, right? As far as being on screen, what does he really have to offer? You know what I mean? The last time he tried to wrestle, he tore both of his quads.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg came to the rescue.
Yeah, and Snoop Dogg came to the rescue. I don't think it moves the needle at all, really. I think that this would be another classic case of Tony Khan just not putting his eggs in the right basket and not spending time on the things that the younger superstars in his locker room and the people that are actively in his product. I don't know. I mean, it would definitely create a huge buzz, and I'm sure that the moment would be heavily watched online, and I'm sure that the next Dynamite would be more heavily watched than a typical Dynamite. But Dennis, do you think that 2 months after he debuts, do you think that viewership stays up because he's on the show? Because I don't know if I buy that, man.
I think it would depend on what he does.
Again, what can he do?
I think I could see him easily, leading some kind of, group of maybe former WWE talents that, that are there, which I mean could be almost the entire roster, I guess you could say, or something, and some kind of like maybe invasion angle, or maybe some of these WWE talents that were just recently released, that really haven't shown up in AEW. I mean, obviously, most of those talents have actually ended up settling on elsewhere. I mean, you had, Dolph Ziggler, now Nick Nemeth is your TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Raj Desi, the former Jinder Mahal's now with GCW. Obviously,
that match happened tonight. I'm gonna have to. Do I watch it after we get off, or do I save it and try to fit it in tomorrow?
I would say for you, especially as late as it is right now, because as we're recording, it's actually 12:15 p.m. Eastern time where you're at. Save it for the morning or whatever, because if you're anything like me, you try and watch something at this point at night, you're not going to make it. You're going to pass out.
Yeah, I'm not a big fall asleep while I'm doing something kind of guy though. I'm the person that once, like, when I am done, I will just find the nearest place to lay down and go to sleep. But like, you know, I'm not going to be.
I envy you.
I mean, that doesn't mean that I'm paying full attention. I mean, I could totally just be going, all right, here, you ready?
What's
You
that?
know,
Yeah.
just, staring, but at nothing at all.
I can't even tell you how many times I'd be, upstairs, live in the living room, with my wife, winding down. Matthew's asleep, or he's been at grandma's house, and it's just the two of us. We both worked. We're just chilling. We'll have something on the TV, and all of a sudden I'll hear my wife go, "Dennis, are you snoring?" And I'll be like, "No," even though I know I was. Or I use the excuse that my dad, God rest his soul, would always give my mom, God rest her soul, when my mom would catch my dad in the same position that my wife would catch me in. My dad would always say, and I've used this before too. I like to say, and this is kind of my way to kind of pay tribute to my dad. I'm not sleeping. I'm just resting my eyes.
Oh, just a classic line. So there's something to that though. Why can't men just why can't we admit we're tired and that we're sleepy? I mean, because I fight it all the time. I'm not tired. And like 15 seconds later, I'm asleep. I mean, we as men just cannot admit that we're sleepy.
You know what? I'm gonna beg to differ with you on that, because I mean, and maybe that's the majority of them, but in this case, I am in the minority, because I have zero trouble, zero air, zero issues with telling people, "Hey, I'm tired. It's been a long day. I'm tired." I mean, just yeah, yesterday, well, or Thursday, however you want to, depending on when you're listening to this. My wife and I, along with my nephew and his wife, went to the Wisconsin State Fair.
Ooh,
And
what'd you have to eat, Dennis? Sorry, just
okay, no, it's okay. I was actually kind of hoping we'd get into this. Um, I had a few things. We all had a few things we wanted to
sure.
try and stuff. So, but I think the one thing that stuck with me the most, because it's probably the most, I guess, untraditional thing you would probably eat.
Yeah.
I got it from this bar that was set up. They were called Elvis Nachos, and basically what they
Ooh,
were basically, homemade
peanut butter
potato
bacon
chips.
nachos.
You'll hear, listen up. You'll give you the lowdown here, and I'm getting ready to give you the lowdown on what's on them.
Sorry.
So no, you're good. You're good. So you're looking at like homemade potato chips, like you get from a bar. Some places they offer, and as a substitute for fries, or potato. Like homemade potato chips. Not like your Lay's or whatever, but
Yeah.
on those potato chips, they put peanut butter,
Okay.
chopped nuts,
Okay.
bacon bits, and banana chips.
Yeah. Oh, banana chips.
Yeah.
I mean, I love banana chips. That might be a little bit too crunchy for me, but yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they were incredible, right? It sounds good.
Oh my god, they were really good.
Yeah. I mean that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and then like, and of course you have your traditional fair foods and stuff like. But I mean,
You
we
get the
go there
fried cheese
because
on
we
a
like to.
stick.
What's that?
The fried cheese on a stick. It's like the corn dog, but rather
Yeah.
than the hot
Oh
dog.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
My
you got to.
Yeah. When there's all kinds of stuff there. I mean, there's like, we always like to go for the stuff that you don't normally see, like the more non-traditional stuff, and that was kind of my thing in that. But going back to the whole concept of admitting we're tired, and then I'm gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
get us back on track here with this McMahon TK talk, so we can get onto our SummerSlams chatter. Um, I have zero trouble admitting when I'm tired. Like I said, again, kind of going with the fair thing. I felt so bad because it was hot. It was like in the upper 80s all day. I'm not in the best of shape myself. Walking around, there were many times where I was just so hot I had to sit, and my back was killing me from being on my feet so much, and I just kept, like, every once in a while I had to sit. I had no problem with that. I had no problem, like, basically we got home, it was late, and I was, just sitting there. Eventually I passed out. It is what I'm at the point, and you get to a point when, as you get older, you don't care anymore. You're just like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm going to sleep, or I'm tired. Screw it. I'm just gonna fall asleep on the couch.
Yeah, I mean, I just haven't reached that point yet. I mean,
You'll get there eventually.
well,
Trust me.
I mean, I am pretty good at fighting sleep. I was up till Dennis. I was up till 5 a.m. this morning,
Oh,
and then I was up at 10. So I worked 11 hours on 5 hours of sleep, and I'm gonna be up probably another 2.5 hours at least today. It's crazy.
well, as soon as we're done with this, I'm getting everything set up, ready to upload, so we can have this up for our viewers. And I'm going to sleep. So, but kind of going back to what we were talking about before we kind of went off the rails here, was you had asked me about, do I think that this could last, say a month later with its viewership? I think again it depends on what he's doing. I think Shane McMahon, depending on what he can do, it could potentially be a bigger needle mover for AEW than CM Punk. I mean, it'd be an awfully tall task, but I mean, he's definitely, if he does show up, that it's that first week that could set records in terms of their viewership and stuff. And I mean, I know that would be a lot because I think Punk's first episode when he came back on, I think it was Rampage or whatever, was, I believe, is one of, if not the most viewed AEW episode amongst all their shows, or it may have been one of the earlier Dynamites or something like that. But I think if they were to announce that Shane McMahon was All Elite that first week, at least, I could see that potentially being a record, a potential record setter, because people are going to see, Shane McMahon, going to AEW. Everybody's going to be talking about it because they're going to tune in to see what is he going to do. What is he going to show up? Is he going to be, what's he going to do? And I definitely think that first episode is just, it's how they go from there would determine if it sticks around and stuff. So
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it would definitely do some numbers. I think my comments have less to do with AEW and more to do with Shane McMahon in the year 2024. You know what I mean?
And I could easily, if anything, if he does sign with, I could see him just as much being an on-screen talent, because he still gets the pop when he shows up. Like, he's still very much over, I think, with the majority of wrestling fans. But I mean, I think he would probably be one of those guys that would also, I think, be good for Tony Khan, because Shane's seen it all. He's done it all. I think he would be one of those guys that I think Tony Khan needs to kind of get AEW back on track.
And you could be right with that, because the fact that the picture got leaked by Mercedes Moné is one of the most crazy. It's probably the craziest thing about it to me, that somebody who is that high in the company, would think it was a good idea to take a picture of that happening and post it. And that's assuming that she didn't get clearance first. But even if but if she did get clearance, why would you know what I mean? Why would those two be like, yeah, please go ahead and post that, so that way, if I do show up, people knew it was coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the most shocking thing to me. I'm like, why the fuck did she think that was a good idea?
Well, obviously, we shall see. But you know what? Let's get into what the bulk of this show is going to be about, and it's going to be that's SummerSlam. We're going to be previewing the show, this year's event, here a little bit later on, and we're going to go over the card, and it's shaping up to be a really damn good show.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you can say that about most WWE pay-per-views at this point, though.
Yes, that's very true.
But yeah, no, it's solid. The only thing that I would like more is if DIY was on the card.
Well, I don't know if you watch. Did you watch SmackDown?
No, you know I just got off work, buddy. No
That's
chance.
true. So yeah, they I if you want me to spoil it for you.
No, yeah, I don't care. I don't watch SmackDown.
They wrestled in the main event against Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu for the tag titles, and
and lost.
Yeah, it was a great match. It was a very good match, and Gargano and Ciampa looked strong, but it just felt like once this match was announced, I mean that was pretty much once that they announced that match, that was when the clock started ticking on DIY's title reign.
Oh, brutal
and stuff. So, but I'll tell you what, man, they are doing everything right with Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, I mean he just has a style that translates really well to WWE's big stage, just as far as the way he presents himself, the way they have presented him,
the way he moves in the ring, the things that he can do.
Yeah, I mean, and again, he gets, like Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, him and whenever Hikuleo.
Yeah, he shows up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they all are so lucky to have had this bloodline story happening, because it's just such an easy way in, to the company, and it just puts you in such a good position with so much, dedicated time around so many people that are, just ingrained in the fabric of WWE. It's just a really great position for these guys to be coming into.
Right, and it's really cool because I thought about this as I was watching SmackDown. I thought it was really cool to see Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu win the tag titles, because it's so ironic that you're looking at almost like just about, let's say, just a little over 30, but just a little over less than 40 years ago, their fathers were tag teaming together.
Yeah, I mean,
as the Islanders, Haku and Tama.
Yeah, I mean, the Samoan dynasty is one of the most crazy things in really any sport of all time, honestly. I feel like if pro wrestling is still popular 100 years from now, the Samoan dynasty is going to be, one of the chapters in the textbook, just because of how long and storied and just honestly amazing it is. You have all of these, talented individuals all coming from one family, all doing the same thing.
And it's just, and to kind of expand upon that is that, you're talking just the, how the Samoan, the Samoan people have been so, such a vital part of wrestling over the years. I mean, and it can be just demonstrated in this whole bloodline story, because I mean, we're basically going on now almost, I want to say, close to 4 years of this story, because it really goes back to when Roman hooked up with Paul Heyman, and then after his coming back and winning the Universal title, and basically going from there. And it's just, I mean, I've never seen a storyline in all the years I've been watching wrestling that has lasted as long as and has been as good as this bloodline story.
Yeah, I mean, and there's just been so many ways it could have ended, and it just never has. I mean, if you're looking recently, it could have ended, with Cody beating Roman. If you're looking recently, it could have ended with like a Rock versus Roman blow-off match. If you look at a little bit before, it could have ended when he beat up Jimmy and Jey Uso, and they could have just pulled the plug and gone, all right, we're going, we're just going to move them away from each other, move in separate ways. Could have ended with the Sami Zayn stuff, and it just never has. And every single time it gets to one of those points where I'm like, wow, this could be a good ending, and then it doesn't, I'm always trepidatious, because I'm like, wow, it's going to end up with a horrible ending, and it's going to kind of sour, you know what I mean? Sour the entire,
Right.
you know,
I get what you're saying.
It's just, it's just constantly interesting somehow. And they just, you know, and they just keep doing shit.
Right. And that's so we'll see, you know, the latest chapter here. You know, with, you know, Cody versus Solo Sikoa, which again we're gonna preview, talk about and give our picks on these matches here in a little bit. First thing I want to ask you, you know, when we're talking about SummerSlam, because SummerSlam it's been going on now for, I believe this is the 37th edition of the show. It started back in 1988. And that, what was your first SummerSlam that you watched?
Oh man, first SummerSlam I would have watched. You know, Dennis, I don't know. To be honest, it was probably 96. So I was watching wrestling like 7 and 8 years old. So it was probably 96, 04.
Okay.
You know, sounds about right. 04, 05, something like that. So remember earlier we were kind of talking before the show, and I had a thought. I was like, I'll save it. So when I got back into wrestling, I was a junior in high school. And for whatever reason, I remember my mom was like, "Hey, B-Dubs is showing SummerSlam. Do you want to go?" And I hadn't watched wrestling in probably 10 years, something like that. And well, no, probably not that much. Probably 7 or 8. It doesn't matter. But anyways, so I actually went and watched SummerSlam 2013, the one that opened with Bray and Kane and
Kane in the Ring of Fire.
And then it had the CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar match. It had the Daniel Bryan, you know, versus John Cena Instant Classic, and then the Triple H screw job and
cash in,
cash in, and you know, kind of from that point, I was like, all right, I'm watching wrestling again. So while I don't remember my first one, I vividly remember that one. I remember shit like Christian versus Alberto Del Rio in a street fight for no reason. Yeah.
So for me, my first SummerSlam, and it's actually one that I started watching as I was getting everything ready for us to record here, was SummerSlam 1991. And this is and it always has a special place in my heart because again, it's my first SummerSlam. I mean, we had, and I think the thing that it was most noted for was actually, and this is one of my favorite SummerSlam moments, was the wedding, the on-screen wedding of the Macho Man Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. And I mean, to my knowledge, I believe that is the only non-wrestling match, like the only time a wrestling match did not main event a pay-per-view. It was like an on-screen wedding, and that just went to show you just how big and just how big the whole Randy Savage Miss Elizabeth thing was. And I've gone on record. I think I've said it on Such Good Shoot. I've said it on other shows that I've done and stuff, that I always felt like as a manager that Miss Elizabeth is way overrated, and I still stand by that. But in terms of how vital she was and how big a part she was of the Macho Man Randy Savage character, I mean, this, if anything, kind of, I think, exemplifies or cements that, or however you want to put it, just on the sheer fact that an on-screen wedding between these two characters main evented a pay-per-view.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and I think that's kind of the ultimate sign of how big wrestling was at that time. You know what I mean? Where so many people cared so much, about these characters that it didn't matter that Macho Man wasn't fighting and that they were watching a wedding. Those people were just so happy to see it that Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things that is very unique to that time period. You know what I mean? Just the realness.
Yeah, and there were some other really classic moments too, and I think the other one, infamous moment or segment was with the Mountie after
No, no.
losing the jailhouse match to the Big Boss Man, and just the skits they did with him getting arrested and getting hauled away in the police van and getting booked and fingerprinted and thrown in. It's just that stuff to this day still pops me. Like, I haven't gotten to that point where I'm watching SummerSlam, that SummerSlam now. Like I said, I have it on. I had it on because I was setting everything up. And I haven't gotten to that stuff with the Big Boss Man and the Mountie, but that's another great moment. I mean, and there's so many just great moments and matches, over the years with SummerSlam. And yeah, I mentioned a couple of my favorite moments. But the match that I want to talk about, and this is kind of the next thing I want to segue into, is maybe like your favorite SummerSlam match. You actually, and with you talking about your earliest memories and recollections of SummerSlam, and that you actually mentioned the match that I'm going to say is my favorite SummerSlam match ever, and that is the John Cena versus Daniel Bryan match.
I would have never guessed that.
It was just like you said, it was an instant classic. It showed that John Cena is more than the 5 moves of doom guy. Like, and honestly, and it really showed just how tough he was, because if you remember, he had that, I think it was because of a torn tricep or something, but he had that elbow pad, he had that huge like whatever it was, like a sack or something.
Was that in that match?
Yeah, he had that elbow pad. Like, I think he wrestled that match with the torn tricep, and that's why he had that pad on, and he had like that bump or whatever that was.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember watching the build up to that. In my head, that was much later. I mean, you're always correct about these things, DDJ. I'm not arguing with you. I'm
not saying you were.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really trying to put the pieces together in my head, because that was definitely the first show the first pay-per-view I watched back, and I, for whatever reason, in my head thought that I didn't watch anything up to it, and it was kind of like a spur of the moment. Hey, let's go.
Yeah, and it's also too, because of everything that happened during that. I mean, you had an instant classic match, with John Cena versus Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan wins the title. He gets the pomp and the circumstance, the ticker tape, the streamers, the confetti, everything comes down the ring. Everybody's all excited and happy because their guy finally won. Then Triple H pulls the heel turn. Pedigree's Daniel Bryan. Then Orton comes out and cashes in. All that emotion from up here went, everybody was, up here, down here. And it led to arguably one of the greatest organic movements in the history of pro wrestling, with the whole yes movement. I mean, I don't think you really have that yes movement, or it doesn't become as big as it did if what happened at SummerSlam didn't happen.
Oh no, I mean, it was especially for a WWE at that time that really struggled to create big moments. I mean, WWE around that time was just not super great at that. I mean, it really was just a perfect sequence. I mean, you had, like you alluded to, you had just an instant classic. I mean, that match went like 35 minutes. I mean,
Yep.
it was long. I mean, and it was really the start. You want to talk about good offshoots? It was the start of John Cena's probably the best run of his career, when he won the United States Championship, and that kind of led right into that. And he was doing the Cena open challenges on Raw, and he was just putting on bangers with Neville and Cesaro and all sorts of shit. I mean, that was great. But I mean, yeah, you had the great match, and everyone was so happy. And then you have to talk about the camera angle, man. The camera that slides right behind Triple H as he spins him and kicks him. Oh, it was so good. The B-dubs I was at, everyone was mad people were like throwing chicken and shit. It was crazy. People were so pissed. But yeah, no, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, and that, yeah, I mean, that's a great pick.
And there's other ones that I thought about. You know, from the SummerSlam I'm watching now, 91, you had Bret Hart winning his first Intercontinental title against Mr. Perfect. The next year, Bret Hart versus the British Bulldog at Wembley. I mean, you have Bret versus Owen in the cage in 94. I mean, you like CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy, I think, in a ladder match in 2009. I mean, there's just so much good. And I'll even throw this one out there. And this is one that might shock a lot of people, but I believe arguably Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar had their best match against each other in that last man standing match from, I believe it was 2000 and was it? It had to be 2018. No. The last man standing match 2022, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, that's because 2000
all right.
Yeah, because 2023 was Roman versus Jay and the tribal combat and stuff. But I mean, that was probably one of my favorite last man standing matches ever, because I mean, you had, you know, Brock Lesnar come, you know, jumping off the fork, you know, the fork, not the forklift, the tractor or whatever, you know, and then using that tractor to lift the ring and tip Roman out, and then literally they had to bury Brock underneath everything to get him to stay down. I mean, that was just awesome. But enough about some of my favorite matches. What are some of yours?
Well, one, and I just, this is gonna kick Isaac and his gonads, man.
Maybe it might actually get Isaac to get his sorry ass up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this might be enough to shift the momentum. But is there a name that comes to mind that's a Mr. SummerSlam above Brock Lesnar? Because I really don't think there is. I mean, I think that Brock Lesnar all time is Mr. SummerSlam.
You know what? The only person that I think I would throw someone else out there, and it was more for what he did a lot during the earlier SummerSlam era. I'm going to throw Bret Hart out there because he had a lot of okay, I'll give you this. 1989, the Hart Foundation versus the Brainbusters. 1990, and this is a match that I think is extremely underrated when it comes to classic SummerSlam matches. You have the Hart Foundation versus Demolition, 2 out of 3 falls for the tag team titles. 91, you have Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect. 92, you have Bret Hart versus British Bulldog. 94, you have Bret versus Owen. We're not going to talk about 95 when he wrestled, you know, some dentist. And then 97, you have Bret versus Taker, you know, when Bret won his last world title and stuff. I mean, to me, I would put up Bret. I would put up, maybe not necessarily that he would win in a vote, but I mean, if I had to throw someone out there as Mr. SummerSlam, I'd throw Bret Hart out there.
I've got another one I'm going to throw out there. Eugene. Back-to-back SummerSlams with marquee matches versus Triple H and Kurt Angle. I mean, Eugene. What?
Just the fact, I'm not doubting the matches that because I do remember. It's been a while since I've watched them, but I do remember them. But when you're talking about Brock Lesnar and Bret Hart and you throw out Eugene, I'm sorry.
All right, Dennis, I don't curse at you very much, but what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't think about Eugene in the same context as Bret Hart and Brock Lesnar? Oh, just me.
I love you, man.
I love you too, buddy. No, but so one of the obvious answers is TLC, right?
Yeah.
You know, Hardy's versus Dudley's versus Edge and Christian. But that's easy and that's boring. My favorite SummerSlam match is the unsanctioned bout between Shawn Michaels and Triple H at SummerSlam.
That's a good one.
2002.
That is a really, that's actually one that I was thinking about as well too.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, one, you want to talk about a great setup for a story, Shawn Michaels returning and, after multiple years of just not being seen and then a year of just dancing and like party, just videos and shit. And then he comes back and then Triple H immediately hits him with a sledgehammer and then he just goes away for 6 more months. And then the story of, well, Shawn, you're not well enough to wrestle, but we'll do it and we're going to make it, unsanctioned. I mean, WWE had never done anything like that up to that point. I don't think, at least. I mean, the idea, they had No Holds Barred and they had,
underrated movie, in my opinion, by the way.
Not seen it either. I know. But yeah, you have the story that these guys hate each other so much, and this is just going to keep causing problems. So WWE says, "Look, we'll allow you to do it, but we're taking our hands off of it. We take no responsibility for anything that happens. Because we're not even sanctioning this match. We're just giving you a space to do it. You know what I mean?"
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, it was just brutal. I mean, they got a lot of the, kind of small things down in this one as well. Just as far as the way they were dressed. Shawn Michaels had the jeans on.
Yep.
Triple H was definitely less, dressed as a wrestler than what he normally is. So it kind of sold the, the idea that, this isn't a wrestling match. This is a blood feud.
Right.
And this led to, a big win by HBK coming back, with the not a roll up, but the pinning combination.
The jackknife pin, I believe.
Yeah. And then it led to, one of the, biggest feuds of WWE from that era, Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, that lasted well over 2 years.
Yeah.
I saw one of those matches. I saw Triple H versus Shawn Michaels Hell in a Cell 04, the one that went like 47 minutes.
Yes.
That card also had Chris Benoit wrestling twice.
Yeah.
It was him versus Kane, and then it was like him versus
him and Edge versus the
Renee Dupree. Yeah. Man. Anyways, yeah, I mean, it was just a really incredible, really amazing match, the unsanctioned. And if we're looking at a little bit more recently, as you did, again, I can't believe Isaac's not here, because I'm going to say words that he is not ever going to believe. But CM Punk versus Brock Lesnar from 2013, in the hardcore, whatever they call it, whatever the stipulation was phenomenal. I mean, really, 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 really good. And then, sorry, can I just bring up one more? And I know this is a personal favorite of yours, Dennis. And that's, I really did love Team PCB versus Team Bellas versus, the other one.
Team Bad.
Yep, thank you. Yep, BAD. Why don't you take it away about that one, Dennis? I'm getting X more than Isaac. This is terrible.
You're really set. You're. I think you're definitely, kind of compensating for Isaac not being here.
Yeah, I mean, I told you I needed to make up for both of us. So Shane's.
You're doing good. You're doing a good job there. I'll give you that.
I mean, just a lot more dumb today. That's all I got to say.
Now we love Isaac and stuff. He's had a long day and stuff, and it's just, unfortunately, he couldn't stay up late enough to do this with us and stuff. But I'm sure he'll be back. He'll be back with us next week. and
Yep.
that. So, but so we've talked about, like, great matches and moments, and one that I actually thought of when you were talking about Shawn Michaels versus Triple H, another really good SummerSlam match that doesn't, I think, it gets a lot less love than it should. And it was the match that kicked off that show, and that was Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio. And this was about, I want to say, like, this was Rey Mysterio's first WWE pay-per-view match, and
Oh yes, he came off the cage on SmackDown.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
after, it was like after that and stuff. But before we kind of get into previewing this year's SummerSlam, what would you say, which SummerSlam overall, like, would you say is your favorite?
Overall?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2013 is definitely up there. Just, I mean, honestly, I think it was just a pretty, like, good card overall, honestly, especially for that time.
Yeah.
Oh man. Favorite SummerSlam overall is probably 2020, either last year or the year before.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, if I'm just watching the show to watch the show, you know what I mean? I'm just turning it on and going, I'm watching wrestling right now. Last year is probably the,
Okay, yeah. For me,
best. I mean, again, I would have to look at some of those, like, mid 2000s cards with Jericho and all those guys to.
Okay, no, that's fine. Yeah, it's your take, your answer. You're not wrong. For me, I go with one that we spent some time talking about, and that was 2002. Because, I mean, in addition to having HBK versus Triple H, and then Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio, you had Brock Lesnar winning his first world title, beating The Rock. You had Rob Van Dam versus Chris Benoit. I mean, there was.
Oh yeah.
You have, The Undertaker versus Test in a match I think is one of Test's better matches that he's ever had. You had, I mean, it was a really solid show, and I mean, that's my favorite SummerSlam.
Yeah, you're just, I mean, buddy, I gotta tell you, you are just so much better than I am at, like, placing.
Stop.
No, but you are like matches on shows, you know what I mean? Like I need like an Excel sheet that I can just skim through, because I'm like, oh, I remember this match, but I'm like 2000, you know what I mean? I just can't remember what years they're from and all of that.
Okay, so before we get into we preview SummerSlam and stuff, we have this little thing, and I'm kind of really disappointed Isaac is sleeping, because I went through a little trouble, and we got a little segment that we like to do every week, that I'm gonna let Shane kind of go into and stuff. And, well, you know what? You'll probably understand why I'm really upset Isaac's not here tonight once you see. So, Shane, why don't you tell our viewers what we're about to do?
It's Pics or It Didn't Happen with Shane. That's me.
It's time for Pics or It Didn't Happen with Isaac. Hey, that's me.
And now you see why I'm upset that he's not there, because I so did this in the hopes that he would see this, because I think he'd love this new video I made for this segment.
Yeah, no, he's gonna dig it, for sure. But Pics or It Didn't Happen. Motor City Machine Guns. Oh, and I broke his streak.
The streak is over.
Do you have any pictures with either of them? You have nothing.
Surprisingly, no. I've never had. I've only think I've actually seen. I don't think I've actually ever seen Chris Sabin wrestle live.
I don't think I have either. I've seen Alex Shelley.
I've seen Alex. In fact, I want to say it was. It was within the last. God, I don't know. It was sometime within the last year. I did see I saw Alex Shelley wrestle live for the first time. I believe it was for Dreamwave Wrestling. And with a bunch of friends. It was myself, my friend Ty, um, his friend Matt, and then actually Jovan joined us as well too. He drove in from town to watch this event, and yeah, it was the first time I ever saw him. Sadly, he didn't do a meet and greet or anything because I would have gotten a picture with Alex Shelley then and stuff. But yeah, no, I've never had the chance to meet the Motor City Machine Guns.
Man, that's a bummer. But you also, like, I guess that makes a little bit more sense now that I'm really thinking about it, though, because you aren't the biggest TNA guy, are you, Dennis?
I don't know if I'd necessarily say that right now. I'm not, because it's not because it's bad. It's just I get usually by the time Thursday rolls around, I kind of like that's my I need a break from wrestling day, which is usually
Sure.
and stuff. So because obviously then I have SmackDown the next day and stuff. But I mean, I try to keep tabs on them and stuff, and I love the Motor City Machine Guns back in their heyday and stuff. But yeah, no, it's just one of those things. I never had a chance. So yeah, so I don't have a pick with them. Shane broke the streak. We'll see if we can next week.
Oh, fuck, man. I ruined everything.
No, you didn't and stuff. So but yeah, so we're gonna get here we're gonna kind of start going with these matches here because we got 7 matches to give our picks on. If Isaac happens to contribute his picks at some point after we record this, they may make it onto the show. If not, they'll make it onto the the Shooting Shit Facebook page, of which we're a part of, so his predictions can count in our little tracker that we have. And also too, speaking of Shooting Shit, they decided to take the week off. Jovan's actually in Cleveland for SummerSlam. The other guys just wanted, I guess, just to sleep or whatever. So they'll be back next week, and you probably be sure to tune in because you'll get to hear, more than likely, you get to hear all about Jovan's adventures in time down in Cleveland.
Yeah, no, you should definitely check that out next week. Go ahead and check out all their other videos.
Yeah.
Located on their YouTube and also the Shooting Shit Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would love to have been at SummerSlam, but those tickets were crazy. They were like $280 for nosebleeds.
Yeah, and that's kind of getting to it's just where I'm at a point where I would be perfectly fine just sitting at home or hanging out with friends watching the shows than going to them live and spending that money. I'd rather take my $280 for one event, one show, spread that over, let's say 4 or 5 Milwaukee Brewers baseball games, and that's where I get more bang for my buck. And real quick sidebar, I was at the Brewers game the other day with my nephew, and we spent some time at a really cool shop up about 20 minutes from the stadium called Waukesha Sports Cards, and got to meet a couple of the Brewers players because they bring them in for signings all the time. They had a couple players in after the game we went to, so we went over there, met a couple players. I just want to take a minute to give a shout out to Chris and his team over there, Waukesha Sports Cards. They do tremendous customer service. Their event autograph signings are always very well organized. If you're listening to this and you live in the Milwaukee area, go check them out. They've got 3 locations. They've got a lot of really cool Milwaukee Brewers memorabilia. If you're a Packers fan, they've got a lot of really cool Packers stuff. They've got University of Wisconsin stuff. They just got a lot of really cool stuff and very reasonably priced. Everybody over there is really good. So just giving a little bit of shout out and love to my friends over at Waukesha Sports Cards. But all right, let's get into this because we're already almost at it. We're getting close to that hour mark, and it's getting late.
It's just the 2 of us. How did this happen?
Just the 2 of us. Well, Isaac, it's because Isaac didn't, decided to well, he said he was going to set his alarm. I wonder if he set it for I think he said he was going to set it for like 11 o'clock p.m. your time. I wonder if he set it for 11 a.m.
It would not shock me.
Right. So
he's something else.
he is. We love Isaac, though. He's a good dude. So, all right. So we are going to go right into it. I'm going to try. I don't know, obviously, what the order of the matches are going to be. So I'm just going to kind of go through here. We're going to kick off with Sami Zayn defending the Intercontinental Championship against Braun Breaker in a rematch for Money in the Bank. What are your thoughts on this, Shane? Who are you picking?
I've got Braun Breaker. Sammy. I don't think he's held it long enough necessarily. Just given his story. Mm-hmm. But he did pick up a big win over Braun. At Money in the Bank that I think a lot of people didn't necessarily expect. Yeah. But Braun Breaker is clearly a focal point of WWE in their plans for years to come. This is a huge, the biggest match of his career by a million miles. I'm sure Sammy is going to sell his ass off for him, and it's going to be a pretty, highly contested match. But if you're going to pull the trigger on Braun and try to make him the star that I think they're going to, he can't lose this match. Unfortunately, and I'm a huge Sammy fan. But I think that this is probably one of the easier matches to predict on the card.
I pretty much agree with everything he said there, because I'm going with Braun simply due to the fact that I think Sammy's at a point where a loss to someone like Braun, it's not going to hurt him. In fact, I think it's going to even drum up more sympathy for him. I think he gets even more over by taking the pinfall in this match, because I think he's very good at getting the sympathy from the fans, because he's so beloved right now. And I think you run the risk if Sammy does win, you run the risk of, okay, that's 2 times in a row now that Braun's lost to him. And where do you go with him from there? So, I think this is the time. I think, you put the belt on Braun and let him go, because much like you said, he's obviously the future of this company, or he's one of those guys that we're going to be seeing on our screens for quite a while.
Yeah. I mean, legitimately, Braun Breaker is what, 29?
I can look that up real quick.
He has every opportunity to be a regular fixture for the next 10 years.
And the one thing that I've always said about Braun is that I feel like he's very, very lucky that the genes he's got. He's 26 years old. He's 26.
Oh wow! So like 15 years, really.
Yeah. So he's got his dad's wrestling ability, and he's got his uncle's, charisma, basically the showmanship ability. He's got the best of both Rick and Scott Steiner. And Scotty was I spent some time with Scotty, a couple years ago at a comic convention. I had talked to him about Braun, and he's very, very complimentary, very high on, very proud of his nephew, and rightfully so. Braun's been doing great. I think arguably he's probably, out of all the NXT call-ups that have happened this year, he's easily been the best one. They've gotten it right. Seem to have gotten it right with him.
Yeah, no, and you talk about him being, kind of the best of the Steiner brothers combined, which I think is the truth. But I think you also have to put into account that, again, he has had the privilege to cultivate himself in NXT for so long.
Yeah.
He really learned from the ground up how to be, how to be a wrestler. I'm sure his dad and uncle, did plenty of that, with him growing up. But as far as learning, he got to do it with, probably the best training dojo in the world. Yeah, I mean, Braun is great. Braun is definitely very, very special. And yeah, he's going over.
He is. So we're gonna get into our next match here. And this match is going to be for the United States Championship, and that's going to be Logan Paul versus LA Knight. To me, I think we've gotten to a point where, and he even alluded to it in a promo that he did on SmackDown. Logan Paul has been WWE United States champion for something like 250, 260 days. He's only defended the title twice. I mean, he's honestly defended his title less frequently than Roman Reigns was defending his title, which is something I thought I'd never say. But to me, it's time. You need to put the belt on LA Knight.
Yeah, no, I mean, I 100% agree with you, and I think that this is this is the earliest and biggest payoff to the Logan Paul run is him putting LA Knight over, because LA Knight's he picked up a big win against AJ Styles recently on a pay-per-view. But I mean, when was the last really big win for LA Knight?
He had, that was, I would say, yeah, when he beat AJ at WrestleMania. I mean, he hasn't had that, and I think he's ready for this. He's still so over with the crowd, but I feel like if he doesn't win this championship, I think you really run the risk of just kind of seeing him, kind of to maybe he steps back in with the crowd, and he's kind of I think he starts maybe to get lost in the shuffle. And I think it's just Logan Paul does not need the U.S. championship, but I think LA Knight does, and I think he gets it on at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such a toss up simply because of the monetary investment you have in Logan Paul if you're the WWE. And just how much him reaching his audience means. And it means a lot. But if you're looking at this in a conventional booking way, it should be LA Knight, and I definitely do think it will be, because if not now, when?
Exactly.
Unlike Braun Breaker, LA Knight is not. On the the good end of a wrestling lifetime. LA Knight is 43.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and he's still in great shape, and he still has the charisma, and I do not doubt that he's got another 2 or 3 years of good wrestling in him. But if he loses here, how long does it take to get another real chance at a title?
It's going to be a while.
I mean, I would venture to say if LA Knight does not win this weekend, he will never win a title in WWE.
I don't think I could disagree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, he could go to an indie and win whatever, and then that's not to take away from the indie, obviously, but it's just a different level. It's a different playing field.
Right.
But
so
we have the same picks for the first 2 matches.
I've got a feeling I think we're gonna have the same for a few of these and stuff. So all right, so our next match is going to be another title match, and that is going to be Bayley defending the WWE Women's Championships against the current reigning Queen of the Ring, Nia Jax. What do you think happens here? And do we possibly see a cash in?
I mean, I think a cash in is possible. But I really hate that I'm saying this. I think Nia Jax just wins. I think that she wins. I think that you kind of start roping her into the Bloodline storyline. Now that she is champion, and I think that's the way it goes. Unfortunately for Bayley, and really unfortunately for the crowd as a whole. But yeah, I mean, I just, for whatever reason, I think that Triple H really likes Nia Jax. And to be fair, there are things to like about Nia Jax. I mean, she's massively imposing, for anybody, but especially for a woman. And she's big and imposing. that's kind of where I'm at. But I don't know. Something tells me that she takes home the victory, and again, I think that she kind of moves and starts, putting her hands in the bloodline storyline a little bit now that she also has, some gold around her.
Well, we have our first differing opinions here because I think Bailey's going to retain. I think
I hope you're right.
It's going to be by the skin of her teeth. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a fight. But I feel like, I think Bailey has been on one of the, if not the best runs of her career. And I don't think it should stop at this point. I think it still needs to get going. I think, I think I could see maybe in a subsequent rematch, maybe Nia getting the win or something. But I just think right now, I think you keep the title on Bailey. I think we see a cash in teased, but I don't think we see one happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I agree with you on the cash in simply because we don't have that men's to kind of float. You know what I mean? They usually like to have one go pretty quick and then have the other one kind of floating, for the rest of the year. So
yeah, so
yeah, right. I mean,
go ahead.
I hope you're right, buddy.
Well, we'll find out here in a few short hours. So we are going to go to our next match, and this is one that's probably arguably had the best story going into the match, the build up of this match. That basically goes all the way back to Survivor Series, and that is the when CM Punk returned to the WWE, and that match is CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre with special guest referee Seth freaking Rollins. I mean, again, just like what I said introducing this match, I don't think there's really been a better storyline build to any of the matches on this card than this one. And again, you go back to when Punk returned. There's a video that circulated of Rollins being very animated, being very angry that Punk was back. Then you had the stuff with Drew talking about, CM Punk kind of screwed him over or just wasn't, very kind to him back in the day, when Punk was there during his first run. And then you had, the Royal Rumble where Punk tore his tricep, I believe, as a result of a future shock DDT from Drew McIntyre. And basically from that point on, it was Punk and Drew. And I mean, just the wars that they've had on the mic and just the things they've done to each other, McIntyre attacking his arm, after he tore the tricep, obviously McIntyre winning the world title at WrestleMania, being Seth Rollins, and, only to have Punk basically just, take him out as McIntyre was antagonizing him, which led to Damian Priest cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase and winning the world title. Then, you just had the, just the war of words, the trolling of each other on Twitter. I mean, for God's sakes, a couple weeks ago, Drew McIntyre is posting either on his Twitter or Instagram a picture with Jack Perry talking about being a real pitcher and Cry Me a River, which is a play off, the stuff that Jack Perry did that led to the infamous backstage fight at All In and led to Punk being fired from the company and Jack Perry being suspended. I mean, they had shirts, there was a shirt of, Drew McIntyre's face being superimposed on someone pointing at a grave, talking about CM Punk's comeback. It's gotten very personal, and it's just, I think the inclusion, and then we go back to Money in the Bank with McIntyre winning the Money in the Bank briefcase, cashing it into during the Rollins Priest match to make it a triple threat match. Punk coming out and costing, McIntyre the championship, but also in the same process costing Rollins the World Heavyweight Championship as well too, and bringing Rollins back into this story. I mean, it's just the build to this match has been tremendous, and honestly, it's going to be. I'm anxious to see what happens. I think Rollins being a referee definitely adds something to this match. Obviously, he's going to play a factor in the finish of the match, and I think it's going to be a la Brett versus Taker from SummerSlam 1997 with Shawn Michaels as the referee. I think McIntyre is going to do something to Rollins to get him so riled up. He's going to take a swing at McIntyre. McIntyre is going to duck. Rollins is going to take out Punk, and then I think McIntyre is going to capitalize and gets the win. So I'm taking Drew McIntyre for the win with an inadvertent assist from Seth freaking Rollins.
Yeah, I feel like this one is maybe the hardest to predict on the night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, simply because I think that there are real storyline wise, cases to make for both guys. But Drew McIntyre, we talked earlier about LA Knight, right? Needing an actual big victory. Drew needs this match.
Right.
He has spent, and again, it's storyline, but he has spent so much time losing. You know what I mean? Just constantly, ending up on the shit end of the stick. And I just feel like for his character, he needs this big, this big win, and Seth Rollins is a perfect foil to keep CM Punk from looking too weak. I think that Seth Rollins is a unnecessary but fun addition. I feel like Drew just beating Punk would be fine. I don't think it would hurt Punk. Clean. But Seth Rollins is sure to make it interesting, and yeah, maybe I'm betting with my heart here, but I definitely have Drew to win.
And I liked your talking about what with the and I think the reason why Seth was put into this match is because then I think the loser of this match doesn't come out looking weak, because again, I fully expect Rollins to play a role in the decision.
Well, he has to, right? There's no there's no reason to put him in this match unless you're just like, hey, we just want a good, easy way to get Seth Rollins on weekly television. You know what I mean? But I just don't think you have a special guest referee and have them play it straight.
Right. Absolutely. So, all right. Well, we've got, let's see, we've got 3 more matches to go. We're gonna go with our other women's championship match, and another match that I think has had a really, really great story going into it. Basically, it stems all the way back from WrestleMania, and that's Liv Morgan defending the women's WWE Women's World Heavyweight Championship against former champion and actually the woman who technically never lost that championship, and that's Rhea Ripley. And basically, this goes way back to when Rhea turned on Liv and damaged her shoulder and cost Liv, a number of months off for her career, and Liv Morgan came back, started her revenge tour where she was going to take everything from Rhea. And, she took her out during a backstage fight and damaged Rhea's shoulder, which caused her to have to unfortunately vacate, the Women's World Championship, which she had a reign for, I want to say, almost about a year or so.
Yeah, I think it was just under a year.
Yeah, it was just right around a year, because I think she had beaten Charlotte Flair at the prior WrestleMania 33.
Yeah,
and she had that continuous reign going into 34, and and eventually Liv found her way to the championship. But the stuff going on with Judgment Day, with her and Dom, and Dom and Rhea, and Liv trying to kind of take it, get in with the Judgment Day, because again, she wants to take everything from Rhea. And I think it's just it's been a great build. I feel like I've been saying this for a while. Rhea is ready to break out as a monster babyface, and I think this is the point where it happens. I think, despite what we saw on Raw about almost a week and a half ago, where Dom said that he hated
we're in the same place, buddy.
Not to do with her, yeah. So obviously, sounds like we're going to be going in agreement this one. I think Dom screws Rhea.
Yep.
If wins the championship, and then her in her mind, her revenge tour is complete because she's taken everything from Rhea.
Yeah, no. I think that is the most likely outcome, because I think that the Judgment Day just kind of dissolves today at this point.
It starts with that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I think that Rhea loses, turns face, and Dom turns super heel. And then ultimately, just shocker, I think that Damian loses as well.
Well, okay. Well, let's go right into that match. We've got our two men's world title matches coming up. We've got Damian Priest defending the World Heavyweight Championship against the King of the Ring. That would be Gunther. Yeah, I feel like, Damian's actually had a decent run with the championship, but I feel like he's also primed for a little bit of a baby face turned, and with everything going on with Judgment Day, and that I think this is the time where you put that world title on Gunther, because Gunther is that, I believe, since he's been on the main roster, his only pinfall loss was to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. I don't think he had ever been pinned clean in a match prior to that point, and he hasn't been since. And I mean, he's just been booked as that unstoppable monster foreign heel that is nearly unbeatable. And I think he's been built up properly. I think it's his time. I think you put that world title on him. I think Damian Priest gets entangled with this drama with the Judgment Day. And I don't know if I want to say that, like, Finn Balor or someone for, like, JD McDonough or whatever, they cost Damian the match. I could see them trying to help and maybe something backfiring, but I just think Gunther's that one guy that just, he doesn't need help. He doesn't need, he doesn't need Ludwig Kaiser. He doesn't need help from anybody else. I think he's legitimate enough to where he can go out there and handle his business on his own. And I think that's what happens. I think Finn Balor tries to interfere and help Damian out, but I think it backfires. But it's not the reason Gunther walks away the champion. But I think he walks away the champion.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think that there might be even multiple Judgment Day fails, that kind of take into account, but I don't think they play directly into the finish. I think that they are little points, throughout the match that they can play on. But yeah, I mean, Gunther is just literally on an all-timer run right now. I mean, he is on one of the greatest runs that's ever existed in the history of WWE, certainly. I mean, and really in the upper echelon of some of the all-time just greatest runs in all of pro wrestling. And I mean that, since he won the Intercontinental title, since Vince sent him home because he was fat, and he came back all jacked and ripped, and, he just started kicking ass. I mean, it's just been greatness in all ways. Booking, just match quality, just the matches themselves, just everything. And yeah, I mean, when you see a Gunther match, shit's about to go down. And I think having the heavyweight title increases that by miles. Just that sense of shit's about to go down, because it's a Gunther match, and now shit's about to go down in a World Heavyweight Championship match. He just has to win. He has to.
Yeah. I mean, think about what he did for the prestige of that Intercontinental Championship. I mean, he could definitely do that, I think, tenfold with the World Heavyweight Championship.
No, I mean 100%. I mean, and he just provides something so different than really everything else you see on the main roster. And just that, I mean, European strong style, just chops forever. And then, the 6 or 7 finishing moves. How many of do you think he's going to go through the whole repertoire today? Or do you think he's not going to,
I think he's going to have to dig deep down in his bag of tricks to I think put away Damian Priest, because Priest isn't going to be an easy out. Priest is not going to go down without a fight, and
it's not going to be a squash for sure. I think you see a finisher pulled from the bag. Honestly, I think that you see the sleeper suplex. I think he might bust that out for such a big contest. I think you might see former finishing moves brought back to life.
Yeah, so we've got one more match to go here, and it's probably going to be, I would think this match is going to close the show. We shall see, but I mean, we've got Cody Rhodes defending the WWE Championship against Solo Sikoa, and again on SmackDown it was just announced that this match is going to be contested under Bloodline rules, which I wonder if that means we're going to see kind of like a rehash of what we saw at WrestleMania with the Bloodline rules match between Cody and Roman, which was fantastic. I don't see this match topping that, but I mean, I definitely feel like we're going to see some returns from, obviously we're going to see interference from the different members of the Bloodline. I think, we're going to see some returns of a couple of guys we haven't seen in a few weeks, that have been helping Cody out and that. But what's your pick?
It's Cody, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like it is time for Cody to start distancing himself from the Bloodline storyline. And I feel like a really great way to do that is having him beat Solo and then having Roman come out immediately, or having Roman come out next Friday. And then, they can go into the, OG Bloodline versus, new Bloodline thing that they're kind of setting up for. It's just too early to take the title off Cody and then just kind of recycle it back to where it was. You spent so much time building Cody that him losing that championship this early, again, especially back to somebody who is not Roman Reigns but is in the same family. You know what I mean? I just don't think they would do that, and I don't think that that's great booking. I just think it's a perfect time to get them, and by them I mean him, Randy, and Kevin, just away from the storyline. This is a perfect stopping point for them. Move them out, and then you can really finish the Bloodline storyline with Roman versus Solo, and whatever you want to do with that.
And I think that's what happens. I think I definitely see it's going to be a lot of carnage. It's going to be a lot. I think, the announce table is obviously going to be broken at some point during this match. We're going to see all different kinds of weapons and stuff. We're going to see a lot of appearances by guys like, Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu. We might see the debut of someone, who's rumored to be joining the WWE. I think we'll see the returns of Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, who have been sidelined, due to Bloodline attacks. It's just so much is going to go on and stuff. I think this is going to be a car crash, but I think it's going to be one of those ones. Again, I think I'm going to enjoy this match in the same way that I enjoyed Cody versus Roman from this WrestleMania this year. I don't think it's going to be as good as that match was, because I don't really think you can top what they did and just the emotion, the way that match ended, and just the emotion and stuff. But we shall see. But yeah, I definitely think Cody retains in a very hard fought match, and I think after that Roman shows up, and I think not only does he take out? I think he takes out Solo, or they get into it. I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe do something to Cody, because remember, Cody took the title from him. Roman's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to handle my business. But Cody, I haven't forgotten about you, and I'm coming to get you eventually.
Yeah, no, for sure. The way I kind of see it is, if he returns today, I believe that it may be a situation where he takes out Solo and then he just kind of stares at Cody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and they,
yep.
And then they both kind of do the, the head nod. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Roman kind of, just backs out and just, lets Cody do his thing, because, maybe at this point he has respect for Cody since Cody beat him. You know what I mean? And it's a, hey, I'm going to come get you when I'm ready. But, right now I've got, some
family
other
business
to deal with. Yeah.
So, but alrighty then. Well, those are our picks. I think we differed on 2 matches. I believe it was Bayley versus Nia, and then what was it? Or was that?
I think it was just Bayley versus Nia.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I guess it was just that match. Yeah, I think you're right.
We agreed on Cody. We agreed on Gunther. We agreed on Liv. We agreed.
LA, Drew. Yeah, no, I think that was the only match. So ultimately, that match is going to decide, where we are standing wise in this and stuff. But
man, they better put Bayley versus Nia on the main event.
Oh God! And then hold on a second before we end the show. Just for that. And on that note, thanks for watching, everyone.
Oh, thanks, guys.
God, Shane, you know what? We were doing so well, and then you had to come up with Bayley versus Nia in the main event.
Listen, I told you that I needed to cover both me and Isaac, from the start of this. So I had to throw in just the most nonsensical bullshit you've ever heard.
And here I thought Isaac's not on the show because he's still sleeping, and here I thought we'd actually have, and which we did have a pretty good show. But again, we were talking earlier about the ending, possibly sullying the show, and I think you may have just did that with that.
At least I didn't talk about eating corn out anyways. It's probably time to hit the end button. Yeah, I soured the show. Bayley versus Nia for the main event of SummerSlam.
Sorry, bro. Legends of the Ring Sting, man. This is a great figure, old school figure. Looks great. It's Sting! Old school Sting from WCW. Guys, you know us, 3/4 of the Shooting Shit team, and we're here with a listener just like you guys. This is Jimmy from Super Powers Comics.
My friend of almost 20 years. He's known him since you were 12.
If you know people in Chicago, you probably know Dennis because he knows half the town, of course. But shooters, if you need action figures, comics, wrestling memorabilia, we just showed you Sting. Super Powers Comics. We'll put up their QR code so you can get a good look at everything they have coming. Give it a shot, shooters. Get your superpowers on and get your comics from our friend Jimmy, who listens just like you.
Attention wrestling fans and fans of Shootin' Shit podcasts. You can now be one of the cool kids by going to ProWrestlingTees.com and buy the official Shootin' Shit t-shirt. Buy it now and be there at ringside.
This episode and all episodes of 5 Star Takes are now available on YouTube at www.youtube.com/@5StarTakes. Be sure to like and subscribe. Get all of your 5 Star Takes news and updates by going to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/SHOOTINSHT. And as always, thanks for watching.